Notre Dame going to USC. USC favored by 5.5 points. One of the most intriguing matchups of the entire weekend. USC coming off a weekend where they made a statement against UCLA at the Rose Bowl. So you go from one rivalry to the next. For USC, it's all on the table. Every single thing that they wanted before the year began is right in front of them. I believe they control their own destiny. I believe they have a very legitimate shot to make the college football playoff. For Caleb Williams personally, I believe he has a very legitimate shot to play for a Heisman Trophy. Dude's been absolutely balling these last few weeks. Like, I don't know if there's a better player in the country these last few weeks than Caleb Williams. And if he puts on a show against Notre Dame, I think that's a very strong statement to the Heisman voters. USC, I'll make a quick note on this. USC now has a number of stages lined up for them. They just beat UCLA. They got Notre Dame in a primetime matchup at night, and they're going to have the Pac-12 title game. All three will have national exposure, something that USC hasn't had for the duration of the year. So if you're just turning into USC, I don't blame you because of how late those games have been, but I would pay attention. Going to be a whole lot of fun. Going to be a show on that turf. I guess it's grass at the Coliseum. It's going to be a show. Tune in. For Notre Dame, got a quiet confidence about themselves. That win over Clemson, I promise you, was a ton of, yeah, this thing's working. We finally put it together. We finally got this thing rolling. And they've been rolling really since. Had a kind of a closer call against Navy. It is what it is. They were dominating most of that game. Navy got back into it. This is a tremendous opportunity for Marcus Freeman to get not just one, but two signature wins in his first year as the head coach of the Fighting Irish. I mean, think about what that would be. If Notre Dame wins this game, you beat Clemson, and you go on the road and beat one of the top-ranked teams in the country and your rival in USC, I mean, come on. The script writes itself. Also, package that up, give it to recruits, and say, yeah, we did that in year one. I'm just saying. It's a great opportunity for Marcus Freeman, and I promise you, they're excited. They're chomping at the bit. They're ready to roll. First question for me, who sets the pace in this game? Who sets the pace? Because Notre Dame, they want to run the football. We'll talk about more of that in a second. But they want to control the tempo, run the ball, pound the rock, and just allow Caleb Williams to enjoy the game, but enjoy it from the bench and have a cup of Gatorade in his hand. That's how they want to get down Notre Dame. Now, for USC, they want to go fast. They want to score a lot of points, and they do it really effectively, scoring 43 points per a game as of right now are the Trojans. It's good for number 3 in the country. They're rolling. You saw it last week against UCLA, scored 48. Like, they've only scored less than 30 one time this year. That was at Oregon State. I think it was 17 that they ended up getting a win, but they can play that kind of game too. But if USC is able to set the pace, and let's say USC gets out to let's say it's 17-7 end of the first quarter. UCLA is a really good offense. They put up, I think it was over 400 yards of total offense, scored 45 points. They still weren't able to catch USC. Now, Notre Dame plays a different style. I don't think they're quite as prolific offensively. And if you spot Usain Bolt in a 100-meter race, 10 meters, you're not winning that race. So Notre Dame needs to avoid playing catch-up with USC. If USC draws first blood and gets out to that 10-meter head start that we just talked about, it's going to be a long day for the Fighting Irish. Not to mention it's at home for USC. The crowd starts to get more into it. There's a lot of excitement around this program now in LA. That would be big for USC. So keep an eye on that. Who sets the tempo? Who sets the pace in this kind of football game? Second thing we got to look at, and this is huge. Can Notre Dame take the pressure off of Drew Pine? Now, Drew Pine, in my estimation, has done a good job managing everything for Notre Dame. And Notre Dame fans will, get after him a little bit. That's fine. I understand. He's thrown 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Has he been prolific? Is he winning the Heisman Trophy? No, of course not. But he's doing what's asked of him, and he's, like I said, keeping this ship on track. Notre Dame is a 60% run team. The bottom line here, you don't want to ask Drew Pine to go out there and throw the ball 30 times. I mean, could he do it? I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying that's not the kind of world you want to live in. Like I already mentioned, you want to run the football with Estime and Diggs and get downhill, control the line of scrimmage, and win this game by playing defense with your offense. Control time of possession. Kind of have that same attitude you did against Clemson. Be able to just keep them off the field and make it a low-scoring, muddy, gross sort of game for USC. That would favor Notre Dame. Now, on the flip side, if you can't, and if it ends up being a game where you say, hey, Drew Pine, man, we're down by 10 points, third quarter, we got to start slinging it around the yard. Well, then USC, been opportunistic, and you start to press, start to get outside of your game plan, start to get outside of your structure. You ask Drew Pine to do something that he's not accustomed to doing and having to try and catch one of the best offenses in the country, that is USC. So that's pressure you just don't want to apply to Drew Pine in this scenario. Could he do it? Not saying he can't. I'm just saying you're not catching USC if they're scoring 40, and you're asking the Notre Dame offense to do the same thing. So here's my problem for Notre Dame. Maybe challenge is the better word, depending on how you look at it. This game against USC requires the same blueprint as what it took for you to beat Clemson. Now, you look back at that game, you say, okay, well, what did it take to beat Clemson? Well, it took 2 interceptions, one of them being a pick six, the other to set up a short field, which was like inside the 20-yard line, I believe. The other was a blocked punt. So you have 3 plays that I don't want to say broke your way, but 3 plays that you would have to, in my opinion, have the equivalent of recreating. Because you saw that happen, and that was really what took so much pressure off Drew Pine was, okay, we got a short field, defense scored, special teams got us on the board essentially. Like those 3 plays changed the entire complexion of the game. So you say, okay, we need turnovers from USC. Great, let's make it happen. Well, here's the issue, man. USC is number 1 in the country in terms of not giving the ball away. Number 1 in terms of turnover margin, right around 1.8. And you flip it on its head and say, well, taking the ball away, they're at 2 takeaways a game. Are they prolific defensively? Could you run on them? Yeah, maybe. Other teams have done it before pretty effectively. But, I mean, I'll say this. They are high risk, high reward. And they've cashed in multiple times, has Alex Grinch and that defense. And so for that reason, I don't believe Notre Dame is going to be able to create enough magic, create enough fortunate plays for them in terms of taking the ball away and, you know, making it messy. So with that being said, I don't see a world where there's able to just catch the USC offense. Now, I think Notre Dame battles. I think they give them a really strong push. I think they continue to prove that Marcus Freeman is the guy that he's building something at Notre Dame. But again, USC, too potent, too many points, too much at stake for the Trojans at home. I think USC ends up winning this game 38-28 in the Coliseum. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.